Hi, I'm Jody.
And I'm Amanda.
And we love to hate everything. Join us everywhere you listen to podcasts as we recap pop culture, current events, and snark on our favorite trashy, classic, vintage, and iconic TV shows.
Do you remember when Robin Brown made erotic noises during her labor with Solomon?
Or when Cody accidentally emptied the RV sewage line into his shoes?
Remember when McKelty wore the top hat?
Oh, the top hat. Well, over on our Patreon, patreon.com/love-to-hate-TV, you can listen to our weekly Sister Wives throwbacks, tons of backlog episodes dating back over 7 years, and access to Total Request Podcasts, where you request the shows and we recap them.
The crazier the episode, the better. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube and wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Just search We Love to Hate Everything.
Everyone is welcome in Browntown because you're all adults.
Bye-bye!
Surviving Reality contains explicit content full of snark and sarcasm that may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to Surviving Reality.
I'm Corey.
And I'm Carly. And this is Welcome to Plathville, Season 6, Episode 3. They're all freaks here.
Are we talking freaky betches? Or...
Oh, there's a freaky bitch in the bar here tonight.
Or are we talking certified freak 7 days a week?
Unfortunately, that was not what they found on their little dating expedition.
Right.
I am enjoying this season already.
This was a good episode. We were very enlightened. We learned a lot about a couple different people, I think.
I'm so excited that Lydia has made her return. I live for a Lydia Plath moment.
I need the Lydia updates. Lydia Plath, specifically. Yes, very much so.
Yeah, we've got 2 Lydias now. That's really becoming confusing. That's why we have to say Lydia Grace every time we talk about Olivia's sister. You hate it,
I don't
you?
think Lydia Plath has any interest in hanging out with Olivia for anything ever again.
She wouldn't want her name besmirched like that.
Right, yeah, she doesn't want to be associated with Olivia at all.
What did we see in this episode?
Well, the episode description for this one is the Plath men bond over their muscles at the gym. Olivia takes a huge leap and steps into the single scene with her sister, and Ethan decides it's time to break the ice and visit his mom.
I have to say, I was relieved that the gym portion of the episode was actually about 45 seconds.
It was not that long. We didn't have to endure it for very long. It wasn't like a 20-year marriage to Barry Plath, which is insufferable.
Struggle every single day. I've got a little rewrite. Shall I read it?
You always ask for my permission. You don't need my permission to.
Just want to make sure you're ready.
I think I am in the proper mental space to hear the Carly episode rewrite description.
Olivia prepares to be interviewed by potential romantic partners. Lydia returns to Cairo after seeing the world. Kim shows the kids the dock from her beached houseboat.
Yeah, we haven't been able to get it up and running. Might hurt the resale value, I think. Probably.
How'd she get this thing?
This thing had to be, it was a free 99 special.
It is a houseboat. Okay, it's not a houseboat. It's a boat from the 70s that she has made into a houseboat that also does not run. It cannot leave the dock.
It doesn't function. We'll talk about it. We have some notes. First, though, we have a couple of announcements. This week, we're doing a crossover with We Love to Hate Everything on their YouTube channel. We'll be over on the Browntown segment that's going to be coming out this week, so stay tuned for that.
I'm nervous and excited because you never know what we're going to talk about over there.
I feel like a lot of things are going to come up.
There's also going to be a special mini-sode that drops as part of that. Amanda and Jody will be chatting with us over here on Surviving Reality about Gypsy Rose.
I almost said Locked Up Abroad, but that's not it. It's Life After Lockup, the Gypsy Rose Chronicles. What is it called? There's a subtitle that's very dramatic. It's very Gypsy Rose specific.
Locked up in Louisiana.
Life After Lockup. Love in Love. Lock Up in Love. Prison Brides. How many shows can we talk about? How many different iterations of romance in prison.
Keep it coming because I'm enjoying the whole thing.
It's good. It's very enjoyable. But yeah, we've got, 8 episodes of that we have already devoured at this point, and we're going to get Jody and Amanda up to speed on it because they know the backstory of Gypsy Rose and the crime that took place, the HBO doc.
How could you not?
I mean, everybody was captured by that in the true crime area there. But we're going to get them up to speed on the 2024 Gypsy Rose story here because that is a whole saga that is unfolding for all of us right now.
And as always, if you are enjoying the episode, please leave us a 5-star review. I feel really weird asking you for that every week, but it really helps people to discover the podcast. And that's what we're trying to do over here. We want to make more content. We want to expand beyond just talking about Welcome to Plathville.
So leave a review, tell a friend, post online somewhere, maybe not Reddit.
You're such a petty bitch.
Well, we do what we can. All right, that's enough. Okay, we'll go ahead and jump right into the episode here, which kicks off in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Yes, that is where Lydia Grace is located.
Well, I love that I said Arizona and you didn't even correct me.
No, I'm just letting you roll with
Arizona.
that. I know that's your ongoing joke.
It has to be because that's just naturally what comes out when I start saying Arizona now.
Right. Great. I'm really glad that we talk about 2 shows where people are located in Arizona.
Yeah, it's going to be a problem.
We're still there. Olivia is hanging out with Lydia, and they have big plans. They're going out on the town tonight.
Well, I just like how Scottsdale is basically Olivia thinking to herself, what is the complete opposite of Minnesota? I just need to go to Scottsdale, Arizona, probably.
I have a feeling we might upset some people by saying this, but I'm just questioning, what is the singles scene for people in their early 20s in Scottsdale? Does it seem like the population is maybe aged a bit beyond that?
Oh, and I'm not taking any cheap shots at Minnesota here. I'm just saying from a weather standpoint, that is what I was thinking of. What is the opposite of where she was at in Minnesota? Vastly different where we've ended up here hanging out with Miss Lydia.
Grace,
yes, specifically.
They're getting dressed together, and I'm confused with where we ended up because I think it seems like they're going to 2 very different places.
Yeah, Olivia has a red kind of pantsuit going on. Is she going on a campaign trail?
She has gotten in a time machine. She has traveled back to the early 2000s because she's doing that thing where people were going to clubs dressed business casual. Do you remember that point in time?
But then with like some lacy something peeking out from underneath the business jacket?
Well, right. We got to dress it down a little bit.
That's been coming back.
Well, maybe that explains what's happening here.
She's so far behind the curve that she's now ahead of the curve again.
I cannot wear a suit to a bar. Do you know how much I would sweat? I sweat when dressed up.
Too many layers.
I'm just confined. I can't take it. Especially having a drink on top of all that.
You get a little bit of tequila in there and you end up with some Chichen Itza sweats, and it's going to be a big problem.
We know I already have a pre-existing condition, so. Lydia is wearing, I don't know, she looks like she just got finished. She got off a shift. She was belly dancing at a rodeo.
I think the note that I had was Cosmic Rodeo. Because there's some like energy stones that are kind of happening as part of the jewelry. But then the belt buckle says rodeo.
Mm-hmm. It's very
day.
bejeweled.
Very much so.
She's wearing like a little crop toppy situation.
I mean, it is hot. It's Arizona, but it's a dry heat, at least. So then Olivia starts to find out that Lydia only attracts strange men at the bar. So this is kind of our first, we're already gearing up before we've even sat down at the bar. I don't know how this is going to go. We don't know what to expect, but Olivia came prepared, obviously, because she has an entire library of things with her. A couple of different rooms, actually, of things, because she has a library, also a kitchen, because she brought some snacks, too.
So what is she brought a book?
She brought a book, a game, a tub of fresh mozzarella, which I was not expecting to check off a list.
I got to tell you, girl. You are dating in the wrong place. If you're bringing a tub of fresh mutts with you, you need to be in the tri-state area.
They must have just came straight from the tarot card reading because that's screaming Long Island to me.
You think she made that?
She
tarot card reader made that fresh?
She forced that upon them before they left. Here, you must take this.
We never actually got to see her eat the mozzarella. I can't even say it.
How can you leave? Doesn't it need to be refrigerated? That's a soft cheese.
Yeah, you can't leave it out in the Scottsdale heat.
This is what I'm saying. This is botulism is what you have in your bag right now.
I wouldn't trust it.
Next to some apples that you're just going to snack on if you get hungry later, too. That seems like not a good combo.
How big was the bag she had with her?
It was just your typical, it was a standard issue Mary Poppins bag, probably.
I feel like there were other things she should have packed if she was going to be Lydia's wingman for the night. Wing woman?
Well, wing person.
Okay, that's fair.
Wing person. She also brought toilet spray, but she was saying, she called it toilet spray, but then she said it was something to spritz if the bathroom smelled bad, like if the room smelled bad.
Poopery.
I thought it was poopery, which you not, or
She can't say it.
Don't spray poopery in the air. You spray the poopery in the water before you poo.
That is the intended use of poopery.
That's how you're supposed to do it. And a lot of people don't know that. And then they spritz after in the air. That's not what it's designed to do. It's to go in the bowl before you go in the bowl.
Trap the fumes. Keeps them down in there in the water.
Well, mask them. Yeah, it's a surface tension thing with the water, I think, that has a lot to do with it.
I don't know. I feel like with all of the things that Olivia packed with her, she's probably so uptight that she's not going to be using a public restroom.
I get that feeling. And when she first started talking about sprays, I thought she was bringing like a mace or a pepper spray.
Oh, that's a good idea.
With the weirdos that she's talking about that Lydia attracts. I thought that went hand in hand.
Yeah. That or maybe a small can of spermicidal lube.
Like a real psychopath, according to Superbad.
Maybe a little toothbrush for the next morning. I think that there were other things she could have brought for Lydia.
She didn't know what to expect from this wing person experience, so she brought a little bit of everything, but maybe not actually the things that she needed. But we're going to give it a shot here. We're taking a seat at the bar, and let's see what comes our way here.
Is this a townie bar? Also, what time of day is this? Why did they insist on filming people in bars at 3 o'clock in the afternoon?
This is a very Seeking Sister Wife sort of bar interaction with the Ryans. Was it the Ryans? Did I get the name right?
You did get the name right.
The serial killer couple. you know the one I'm talking about. Okay.
I hope they never cross paths with Barry Plath. What if they combine powers?
Oh, no. Yeah.
Be on the FBI most wanted list.
Very quickly. These guys just strike me as people who are from the crew.
That's an interesting theory.
Definitely the guy with the beard with the backwards baseball cap on.
Mm-hmm.
That's a crew guy. That's a PA.
You could tell, huh?
There's a type.
Lydia was very ready to criticize Olivia's interactions with these guys, but I didn't see Lydia saying anything to anyone.
No, it was mostly just Olivia trying to figure out the difference between friendly banter versus flirting, and then the conversations would slowly devolve to Olivia and Lydia arguing about milking methods.
How to milk a cow, to be clear. Yes.
Well, how to milk some other things. I guess where they were demonstrating with their hands of the finger gripping sort of strategy that was being implemented there. I guess that could cross over in a few different categories.
Oh my God. Well, I don't think that they were trying to attract anyone.
No, and I think this was only more off-putting to the potential suitors who had showed up here for conversation.
This was basically a bust.
Well, I liked that Lydia was using a fake name at the bar. Can't go wrong with that.
Yes, I forgot it. In my notes, I have Olivia and Jackie go to the bar, and then I skipped right over it.
It's true, yeah. At least Olivia didn't question it until the guys would walk away, and then she brought it up. But your name's not Jackie. Yeah, we know that. Just go with it.
I feel like next time we just leave Jackie at home. I know we have speed dating coming up at some point in the season, and that's going to be the most exciting part of this, because having Olivia left to her own devices, having to make conversations with guys, that'll be intriguing.
That's going to be scary, I think. Yeah, because Olivia didn't really know what to do with herself at a bar. She's not really a bar type person, but at least she knows that she is an awkward person. And so she knows what to expect. When she goes to interact with people, she's going to be talking about weird things, and it's probably going to be weird. But she's okay with that. She's come to expect that, and so should we. So to kind of round out their story, I guess, for this episode, because we just took like a little hike after this where they were just talking about how they're choosing positivity and how they're feeling at peace with where they're at in their lives right now. What a difference a year makes, because, gosh, think back to a year ago when Lydia was visiting Olivia up in Minnesota. They both had their significant others, long-term relationships that they had been involved in, and now those are gone, and now they've got each other.
It was like a throwaway scene, and then they just talk about how, oh yeah, now you're going to have to go back to Minnesota and attempt to get your divorce papers signed again. The most interesting part of this was when Olivia says she doesn't know how it's going to go because Ethan is unpredictable. And I latched onto that word because later on, Kim calls Ethan unpredictable.
Very interesting. I thought you were going to say the most interesting part was her story about when she almost sat on a cactus.
I think she did sit on the cactus. She's still recovering from that as well.
The first thing she did in Arizona was pop a squat to go to the bathroom outside somewhere and accidentally sat on a cactus.
I don't know if I believe that story.
Not recommended. Yeah, don't let that be your first interaction with the state.
Anyway, I think that may be the first and last thing that Olivia and Kim ever agree on.
Probably. But surprisingly, I believed it more when Olivia said it. But then when Kim said it, I was like, you're full of shit.
So did I.
I just credited it immediately when Kim brought it up.
When it was in the preview last week, I was like, oh, this bitch.
Yeah. But then when Olivia says it, I'm like, yeah, no, he is kind of erratic. So that is completely my bias against Kim that is on full display.
Well, let's get into what the Plaths were up to this episode. I guess they must be boring when they're all separated because we're bringing everyone together.
It didn't get much better when they were all together. I guess we'll say it that way. But yeah, we're in Cairo for a gym montage. Is this the same generic town gym that we went to from season 1? Is it?
It is. It's the same one that just says gym on the door. It doesn't even have a name.
Jim's gym.
You're just going to the gym. That's it.
Well, at least Ethan isn't wearing his denims this time around. So that is a step in the right direction. We've made some progress here. You could definitely tell it wasn't a Planet Fitness once we got inside.
Remember that, though? That is how little Ethan was familiar with working out. He was wearing jeans to go work out with, that was Olivia, right?
That was Olivia.
Way back in the day.
The only person he's been with.
These people are abnormal. The rate at which they are capable of putting on muscle.
Especially Barry in his mid-50s. He is just packing on the muscle, cultivating mass.
Cultivating mass.
That's what's happening.
And Ethan, too, because he has taken a page out of Barry's self-help divorce book, which tells you go to the gym and work out.
Work it out.
Obsessively.
Work.
Work it out.
So it's workouts, work
it out.
And work it out. Yeah. Well, you'll have to do your own research for the last one. But hey, going to the gym, it's better than therapy, which, how do they know that? Because it seems pretty evident that none of them have ever done therapy, just from the way that they were talking about depression.
Oh, they just assume that this is the thing that's going to help them, not therapy. Talking to someone, nah. Going to the gym, taking your mind off of your problems, that's the way to go. Channel it all into your gains.
Okay. Yeah, because Barry's popping the 90s.
What was that? He starts doing chest presses with 90-pound dumbbells.
Those are dumbbells, man. Like, I have not seen dumbbells that size. And I was scared.
I have gone to a CrossFit, and I have never seen dumbbells that size.
I didn't want them that large. Nobody needs this. But Barry needs this because he has to show up Micah. He heard that Micah was doing chest day yesterday, so Barry has to show off all of his chest exercises. Really pop off the chesticles here and just rub it in Micah's face because he's stronger than his son who's in his 20s.
The way Micah took this, he seemed genuinely like his self-esteem had been affected by the fact that Barry was stronger than him.
His conditioning has probably taken a hit since he's in Florida. Well, no, I don't know. He's been digging trenches. He's been doing a lot of yard work. You think that that would help with his core stamina.
The other 90% of the time, he's sitting on the couch vaping.
Well, that's going to go in the other direction, isn't it? Yeah, that's going to be some points deducted. But we got a ton of bad acting of the Plath boys having conversations and then pretending to interject. And then we heard a absolutely terrible Arnold Schwarzenegger impersonation from Barry at the end of this. He sounded more like Dracula, which that was more on brand for Barry.
Do you remember what he said? Can you do an impersonation?
I want to lift your weights. I don't think that's what he said, but that's how it sounds in my memory when I play it back in my head.
Do you think he's just waiting one day for like a hot woman in her mid-40s to walk into the gym that he can hit on?
I think Barry he probably wouldn't go for somebody who's like at the gym. He would go for like a long distance runner, like a marathon runner, somebody who runs all the time.
Why? So they could be gone a lot?
They would be absent from his life most of the time.
You would think you would want someone who's maybe not so fast-footed. Is that the right word?
Well, he doesn't want someone who can get away necessarily. But I feel like, I guess that's just my concern coming to light here, because whoever he does end up with, I hope they can outrun him, is what I'm trying to get at.
Back at Kim's old house, Mariah is living in her bedroom and reorganizing her closet. And that is, of course, why Lydia is here, because she needs to help her.
It used to be that clothes were the only way that Mariah could express herself and her own individuality. It was her way of rebelling against everyone around her and making her own horrible, horrible, terrible choices and putting those on display for everyone. But now her tastes are changing. She's maturing in these ways. So she's going to go through all these old clothes, maybe share some with Lydia if Lydia needs any extra, I don't know, dust rags or...
Lydia's not going to take any of your old skimpy clothes.
She's not going to wear any of them. I don't know what Lydia would do with them. There's not much material to make anything else. So I have no idea what Lydia is going to be doing with this stuff.
I'm a little confused as to how drastically Mariah's fashion choices have changed or morphed into what they are today. What was so different?
Is she trying to get Max back? Because I think that ship has sailed.
Y'all, if you don't remember Max, that was her boyfriend a few seasons ago. They broke up. He has since gotten married.
And had a baby very quickly.
Oh, yeah. And they had a baby. Forgot about that already.
Very quickly.
Very, very, very quickly.
So I guess, I don't know if Mariah took that and has internalized it and she's trying to unslutify herself because she was being
she thinks
shamed.
That she is.
The shame was there, and the shame was from Max. So I think she took that on, and she's carrying that now.
Oh, yeah. That was something that he said to her, that her
Very
clothes
much.
were a problem.
Why do you have to dress like this to garner this attention from other men?
Yeah, that was the gross part about Max. Remember that?
I remember.
Ugh.
Don't forget.
Can we talk about Lydia, though? She's home. She hasn't been here for a long time. She was on a mission trip. She was gone doing that for 2 months. And then after that, she decided to just take off. She was going to see more of what the world had to offer. So she went to Minnesota, the Florida Keys, and North Georgia.
That pretty much checks off the globe-trekking list of must-see places. I'm not meaning to dump on Minnesota like this episode. I really am not. But it's just funny from Lydia's perception of this is the world. I've gone and seen the world now.
She went to other places where there were people she knew. That was it. We actually didn't explore anything that was new or different beyond places that she had a reason to visit.
But what it really comes down to is that they just agree that it's good that you're here to take care of Dad. They're both agreeing that they share custody of Barry because nobody can shoulder that as a full-time responsibility. So Lydia is very thankful that Mariah has stepped in. She's here to take care of him while Lydia's gone, and then they'll swap, they'll tag in, tag out as needed. I love that for you, not for me all the time.
At least Lydia has someone to share responsibilities with now.
I think it was wearing her down.
Mariah wasn't very good at that when they were growing up.
You couldn't trust her to do the chores that she was assigned, and Lydia would always pick up the slack.
And they're both kind of at this like weird crossroads in life where they're not really sure what they're going to do next. So I guess taking care of Barry is the next best thing to distract them for a little while.
Yeah, because Mariah's been rethinking the future here. Do I continue to pursue music or do I give up and go to college? Because she must have been reading through those comments on the circus post.
I'm going to say, let's go to college. Let's get some head learning.
You know,
head knowledge.
Well, oof, I don't like that. But Lydia's been thinking quite a bit too. Thinking about the old college ways. But what college do you think Lydia would be going to?
Of course, a Christian college.
Moody Bible Institute, most likely.
The only reason she's considering that, though, is because she recently had a breakup. Of course, her primary plan was just to get married, and that didn't work out. So what do you do when you're a single woman with no prospects of marriage? You go to college.
She's running out of options, and she's realizing that. She is jaded this year, but she's paving over all of those emotions with Jesus.
As always.
Yeah, that's been her go-to move. And she's that's spilling over into Mariah's life a little bit more, too. I think Mariah's afraid to talk about it on camera because she was so against it the first few seasons. But since the baptism, I think that was a pretty telltale sign of where Mariah's mentality has been going.
Did you catch the part where she mentioned that she feels like being back at home is giving her this opportunity to complete her childhood? Because she and Micah got kicked out.
The departure was not very official or formal in any way when they first left. So now that she's returned home, technically, or what's left of home, it's been giving her a second chance at this connection with Barry. Maybe we'll be able to have a father-daughter bond that we've always been missing out on.
It sounds like that went down and it was really dark because Lydia made a comment to her about, yeah, maybe you get a hug when you move out this time.
Well, I feel like it was just never addressed. It was just, she just moved out, packed up and left, didn't say a word, and it was never addressed. That seems to be the Plath way.
You think she moved out in the Davis fashion, like Danielle Davis? In the middle of the night, she packed up all her plants, threw them in the car, and left?
Texted them, I have moved out, and signed a lease with the house that's down the road from our house.
There are only so many options in Cairo. I am loving the TV pilot that they pitched to us, this idea of the two of them going to college together.
That would be quite a sitcom. I think that would be worth watching.
They need to be roommates in a very, very small dorm room where Lydia is completely focused on her studies. What do you think she's studying? She's theology.
She was asking, what class would you study? What would you go to college for to learn about yourself? And she's starting to ask some dangerous questions here. I think these are scary topics for Lydia. I don't know if she's ready for this, because if we're talking like human anthropology, psychology, I don't know if Lydia's ready for that.
I don't know. It just sounds like you need a therapist if you want to learn about yourself.
You mean the gym? We've already been there.
What do you think the gym membership at the gym in Cairo is? How much do you think that costs?
$5.99.
$5.99 a month. It's cheaper than therapy.
It is. Speaking of therapy, we're going to go down to St. Mark's and visit Captain Kimmy. So we have Micah, Mariah, and Ethan. They're headed to the boat, and Micah is blowing bubbles from the back seat. Mariah is getting a kick out of this. She is tickled with the playfulness and the creativity that Micah is bestowing upon them. Ethan is less than impressed. He is not having it as part of this drive.
Ethan doesn't like anything fun.
Well, he's not in the mood for this as part of the drive.
He's shitting his pants getting ready to see Kim. Do you think that they brought the bubbles for Live, Laugh, and Love? That's the whole point of this trip, right? Nobody really wants to see Kim. They're going to see the sisters.
Mercy and grace and faith and hope. Oh, yeah. Amber, Cassia, and Grace.
Mercy.
Damn it. Oh, man. It was a 50-50 right at the end there.
Damn. Man, you always mess that one up. That's the only one I remember. I always forget Cassia.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's been like 2 years since Ethan has come face to face with Kim.
Maybe it was the river trip when they had that whole blow up. That was a really good episode. That was a season finale a couple seasons ago.
That was another family event that Olivia ruined for all of them.
Of course. And Ethan is regrettably talking about how the relationship with his mom has been strained because there was so much drama between Olivia and Kim. Not because he has personal issues with Kim. It seems like he's forgetting all the reasons why he was upset with her.
Kim kind of sucks. That's the base of all of this.
Very much so. And then now you've separated for a few years, but you still haven't processed through any of that. You haven't thought through the reasonings of why or the sources behind that. So now that you don't have Olivia there to remind you of these emotional conflicts that you were constantly facing, now you're just saying, oh, I never really had a problem with her. I think that all stemmed from Olivia. And so now we're just going to go back and pretend like nothing happened, just like they wanted.
He's just doing what all of the other siblings have done leading up to this. They have all come back and said, oh, you know what? All of these negative feelings I had about my parents and how I was raised and the things that I started to deconstruct about my childhood, all of that was really just Olivia putting thoughts in my head. I don't feel that way at all. I actually want to have a relationship with my parents and pretend that none of that ever happened.
Because this is the part that gets me every time, is where they say, oh, it's really important to me to still have this connection. Okay, can we address all of these horrible things that did happen? The things that Barry and Kim were saying about you and your wife at that time? The disrespect that was constantly taking place in your marriage?
He also brought up very real complaints about his childhood, like being upset about the lack of education that they had. There were things that he was legitimately upset about for himself that had nothing to do with Olivia. But now we're going to pretend that that didn't happen.
Any thoughts on that? Any regrets? Anything to say? And Kim was silent on that. She had nothing to say. I think she eventually apologized because that was that coffee conversation that they had on the sidewalk in town when they met up the one time.
The coffee shop.
The coffee shop. Which, boy, yeah, we've got a coffee situation over here because Mama Plath is on the boat preparing for her children's arrival. So she's hiding some bottles of rum, most likely burying those on shore somewhere. But she's also making instant coffee in a Moscow Mule copper tin mug.
She is going to be in rare form when they show up.
Holy shit. Copper toxicity is a real thing, especially when we're talking about hot and cold liquid. She is pouring boiling water into a copper tin.
I don't even care about that. It's just the fact that Kim Plath now owns a Moscow Mule mug that made me hit rewind.
Well, this was the point when she's talking about how Ethan can be unpredictable. And it was like, really? Ethan's unpredictable?
Kim, I don't even know who you are anymore.
I don't know what's going on here.
This is a woman who stood barefoot in the marina bathroom. I don't want to hear anything about other people being unpredictable.
And I think Ethan, there's nothing unpredictable about the way that he behaves. He bottles everything up until he explodes. That's how he was programmed.
Right, that's the way you raised him. Remember, you didn't want him to bring up any of his problems, talk about anything, and then he just gets upset, and eventually he blows and he says something about it.
So that's not unpredictable to me. That's a very rigid predictability schedule that you actually have to go off of. I think what she gets confused about is, oh, he never brings anything up, and then out of nowhere, he brings up these big, huge issues. Well, they've been festering for quite some time.
I'm sorry. Can we rewind to the fact that you were married for 20 years and just out of the blue pulled out one of your diaries and told us how unhappy you've been for all of this time and wanted a divorce? Are you not also someone who just springs things on people?
He learned from the best. And Ethan seems legitimately excited when they're pulling up to the boat in the car. He's looking over. He seems excited to be there and happy. This is where Micah had to interject and say, Mom loves Ethan unconditionally, so he should do the same, which was kind of gross to me because just from that level alone, sometimes that's not good. And sometimes an emotionally immature or an emotionally unavailable parent loving a child isn't a constructive relationship to actually have. Sometimes it can cause more damage than it actually sounds like. It sounds like a good thing, loving your child unconditionally. I don't know if Kim's definition of love is going to be the same as everybody else's.
Something tells me they don't understand people who put up boundaries and stop talking to certain family members when needed.
Well, Micah was constantly pressuring Ethan to fix things with the parents, which meant ignore all of your feelings about it and continue to interact with them no matter the consequences because they brought you into this world and they love you. That's the only basis that he has to go off of, which I would argue actions speak a little bit louder than words. Where is the love in the actions that are being presented to us? Are we seeing that on a regular basis or are we just hearing stuff?
What happened when Micah got out of the car?
Micah gifted Kim a used coffee mug, which is desperately needed. Obviously, we've already established that. So I think that's good. I think it was a joke because like he had a coffee mug that they traveled down with. So it was a dirty
she
mug.
has no sense of humor because she looked at it and she was like, oh, thanks.
He jokingly referred to it as a housewarming gift for you. This is my dirty mug that I brought down here. But Kim's going to pocket that. She's like, oh yeah, nice, cool. I needed that. The real takeaway here, Kim gets a hug from Ethan. And she's been waiting for that for a long, long time. She actually gets pretty emotional about it, cries a little bit.
She does, because her son is no longer possessed by the demons that follow Olivia.
Yes, the demons Colgate and Crest.
When you say their names, it takes away their power.
No, does it, or does it give it more?
I don't know.
Oh, boy. Well, Colgate and Crest kind of sounds like a weird law firm, too, though, if you really think about it.
He's my son again.
Well, I didn't like the slow motion replay with the Sarah McLachlan-like soundtrack that was going on as well. But to do that with those effects to really drive home the point when we just watched it, it was kind of weird, to say the least.
You took a deep breath when that happened. You were like, and I thought it was because Kim's skirt. Was it a skirt? I hope it was. It was much shorter in the back than in the front. And when she went up for that hug, man.
It's a mullet skirt. Business in the front, party in the back.
I don't know what was happening there.
It's happening. So now we're going to attempt to board the boat, okay?
The RSS Mum Springer.
We have the RSS Mum Springer. She's docked. We have to be careful. We got a bunch of warnings from Kim, some man overboard type situations that we're trying to avoid. It hasn't happened to anybody yet, but she doesn't want to be here and be responsible for anybody who's going to be taking a dunk in Davy Jones's locker here.
Was she worried about that they're going to fall off of the floating dock?
Yeah, I guess this is a BYOLJ sort of household to be at. Bring your own life jacket.
Oh, thank you. I was not following that.
That's okay.
Did anyone tell Ethan that she lives here? Because he seems a little confused.
He was very confused and then concerned because as he's standing there, towering over that tiny small fridge that sits at the corner of the boat.
I'm glad we finally got to see it to scale.
Yeah, I needed a banana for scale or something, but Ethan standing next to it made it very clear this is like a college dorm mini fridge, beer fridge type size refrigerator. And he's standing there looking around going, so this is your home? And Kim has to be like, well, I mean...
This isn't all of it.
Not really. There's more, but not.
You haven't seen the bow yet.
I don't think I want to. I really don't want to. But then this is when we find out a bunch of boat facts, a bunch of Kim's boat facts, how this boat doesn't run. And that just only adds more questions. Do the lights work? Where do you go to the bathroom? Which we already established in episode 1. The marina is the best way to go, even though legally you can go to the restroom here if you absolutely need to, but I don't recommend it.
I think it's probably safest that the boat won't move.
Yeah, I think that's the only way the judge would let her live here. You don't have a license. You have to disable this vehicle. But it's quite a juxtaposition, and Ethan's trying to wrap his mind around it because just, again, what a difference a year can make. And I guess maybe this is curing his depression a little bit. He's realizing maybe my life's not so bad after all.
He and Mariah are having two very different reactions to being here today. Mariah is talking about how much she admires Kim, how she's changed in all of these positive ways, that she's such an adventurous person.
A free spirit. And what I heard in that is that those are the seeds of another houseboat being planted in Mariah's soul. And just in about 20 years or so, she's going to be coming around to that idea where she's going to run out of options and she's going to be buying a boat that she's calling a houseboat and reluctantly living on.
I feel like I shouldn't have this hope, but it kind of welled up inside of me when Mariah mentioned that Kim doesn't really get her feelings hurt. People say all these terrible things about her, and she doesn't let it affect her. And then Ethan responds, well, maybe that's because she doesn't actually feel her feelings.
Maybe she doesn't have feelings.
It's like, does he have the potential to understand what's really going on here?
Well, I just hope that that lens of perception finds its way over to Ethan's life as well. I think he does know, because he admits to that. Vulnerability is an issue for Ethan, but then I don't really see him doing anything to fix it or to grow or to move on from that.
That's too hard.
Well, it's too much work. I'm just going to find somebody else who's okay with me not being completely vulnerable. I think that's my goal now.
Things were going pretty well for this interaction up until they're trying to figure out what they're going to do. They're thinking they're going to head home. And Kim suggests, maybe we can swing by Ken's house. You remember Ken?
You met Ken once or twice, probably, right? Dropping Isaac off at flight instruction lessons. And Ethan's like, yeah, no, I don't think that's going to be a today thing.
Yeah, no, thank you. He very clearly has some negative emotions towards Kim moving on from her marriage to Barry. And I think he's maybe projecting a bit.
Well, and it's not even a finalized divorce yet, so he's struggling with that. I don't know, if that's tying in with maybe his thoughts of Olivia going out and dating and moving on, because it seems like Olivia's moving on so fast from their divorce. Why is it so easy for her to get over this and I can't get over it?
These women, they just move right on, don't they? Nothing affects them. I will say it was fucking weird that she is trying to just skip ahead like everything has been forgiven and forgotten.
I think she was testing the boundary again because she
loves to do that.
She loves to do that. And so she was checking to see where he's at. And honestly, she had nothing to lose by throwing it out there, because the main takeaway is at the end of this interaction, she's already got Ethan back. She already won.
She did, and they're going to win again because they head back to Cairo, minus Kim.
And Faith, Hope, and Love.
Yeah, them too.
Yeah.
Do they ever spend time at Barry's house? Because we haven't seen it yet.
Not on camera.
He's having them live on the houseboat, huh?
I was going to say they did jujitsu, but I think that was when Kim and Ken were
doing whatever they do when they get some free time.
Four-wheeling bareback through the woods there.
They're all back at Barry's house, and Micah makes what I guess was intended to be a joke.
That wasn't a joke. That
No.
was a recommendation.
It was a red flag, was what it was. He was like, how about we all just move back home?
You know what we should do? We should all just move to Cairo.
And I felt like Barry's eyes just lit up in that moment, because this is what he and Kim have always wanted, isn't it? They want them to be stuck in Cairo with them, living the very same life that they lived for many, many years, and not really growing much beyond that. They want them stuck in the same mindset they were raised in.
So then Mariah's offering up some guitar, some singing. Maybe we can make it like the good old days.
The Plath family band is back together. Why don't we get some instruments out?
Kind of, but not really. I think at one point Lydia handed Ethan a guitar, and then she grabbed Mariah's guitar and she starts singing. And it is quite a little ditty that she busts out for us.
Well, Lydia has her own album too, or singles, maybe not a full album. I listened to one. It's horrific, so.
It was rough. Yeah, we've kept up with a lot of the Plath individual music releases that have happened since and can't make recommendations.
Her music videos don't disappoint, though.
It's about what you'd expect. But this one, I think she can sense a heaviness in the room. There's the depression monster that is visiting them. And so she's trying to scare that away, singing songs about, I hear you cry at night and I'll carry you. Some of those real uplifting tunes. Well, thanks for that.
Well, she knows the message that everyone needs. That's what she's trying to tune into right now.
But honestly, what Isaac and what Micah needs is just some shut-eye. They need some peace and quiet, and they need to go to sleep. So they excuse themselves and let everybody else enjoy the rest of their evening together. They've been up. It's been a long day. They're going to go to sleep.
Isaac didn't even go with them, did he?
Isaac went to sleep.
No, I mean to visit Kim.
Oh, no.
So he was just busy working.
I think he was like, oh, no, she's going to make me go to Ken's, and it's weird when I go to Ken's now. He sees enough of Ken when he's flying, and he's still trying to get his pilot's license. But then we get some original tunes from Ethan, who we haven't had his YouTube channel launch yet, but he's got a little breakup song for us.
Yeah, was this a very Robbie Hart moment?
Well, at least he didn't write half of it when he was with Olivia. and then half of it after they broke up, and it's a little uneven.
I was listening to The Cure a lot.
But no, this was more, hello, I'm Johnny Cash.
It was very Johnny Cash impersonator.
Very much so. And the general theme of the song is sometimes it seems like you can't win in life. That's the general consensus. There's some rough stuff about it there. But then Barry has to counter as soon as the song concludes. Well, you're a winner in our book.
Thanks, Dad. That's
The
a real
real-
dad thing to say.
The real, comforting stuff.
Do you have the lyrics?
I didn't write down word for word.
I do. Would you like to hear some of them?
The opening line was probably the most jarring.
When you trust someone, I'm sorry. When you trust someone that gets you killed, when you love someone, they'll hurt you still. Living a life that's real gets you hated. Lord, sometimes it seems to me that in life, you just can't win.
A little different than Lydia's song, I think, in tone and in delivery as well.
You know what? It was a better song than anything Mariah has ever written.
This is true. If she's the professional musician of the family, I think this one was still catchier. It had a better hook.
What was the circus lyric?
I cannot recall any part of that song.
Oh, I'm not your clown.
Yeah, okay. What's alarming to me is just how long her songs are getting. I think that one's like 6 minutes. Way too much. You're not going to get any radio play with that. Too much airtime. But they get back to their classic hit that started it all. Keep on the sunny side, because that's the message. I think Lydia got a little bit scared with Ethan's song, and she was like, can we play something a little more upbeat before we end out the night here?
Keep on the sunny side of life.
Always on the sunny side.
It scares me whenever they sing that song together.
It is, I know, everybody gets Children of the Corn vibes, and I feel like having a song that you all sing in unison that you've been playing your entire life that is wildly optimistic and overly upbeat doesn't help.
And that's kind of where we leave them this episode. Ethan knows that he's got to go back to Minnesota and that when he gets there, Olivia's going to be showing up pretty soon looking to get those divorce papers signed again.
He's really dreading that. Doesn't want to go back to any of the challenges that he abandoned in Minnesota. Wants to just leave those unattended and just drag that out a little bit more.
Next episode, Ethan and Mariah bond over drinks. Kim gives Micah some relationship advice. Olivia drives to Minnesota hoping to finalize the divorce, but detours when Mariah asks her to meet up to hash things out.
I think the scene I was most excited about, because they didn't mention it in the description there, was Micah trying to fix Kim's boat, because you knew that was going to happen. As soon as she said that the boat didn't run, it wasn't operating, Ethan was already thinking about, I could probably fix this boat.
Oh, they were foaming at the mouth.
They were ready to go, and they just needed their tools. So Micah carves out some time, and it looks like he's trying to help her fix the boat. But when she doesn't know the difference between port and starboard, already, you know, things are going to be good. Because I think port is just whichever side of the boat that Kimmy has her wine on. That's where the port is.
It's the side of the boat that's leaning more into the water.
It's heavily tilting in that direction.
Thank you for listening. If you want to support us, the best way to do that is by subscribing to the podcast and leaving a review on Apple Podcast or Spotify.
Be sure to chat with us about the episode on our Discord channel by joining our Patreon, patreon.com/survivingpod.
Stay tuned, share it with friends. See you next time.